Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the one, the only SARCO ACC GT3 races. Right here at Brands Hatch, proudly sponsored by CT Auto Electrical. Big thank you to them, and big welcome to every single one of you as we're in for an absolute treat right here at Brands Hatch. And I've got to say, I'm really looking forward to the circuit. Peter Heidemann going and saying good luck to all, and what an awesome track. You coming in first out on YouTube, so glad to have you, and really exciting to see you coming in and having a bit of a chat with us. Yes, it is Brands Hatch, the one and only circuit that's all about having absolute crazy times, and we're going to have an absolute blast out here as each and one of these drivers are looking to push the boundaries and go as fast as possible. We're on board with Sarge, which is Ryan in the beautiful AMG, looking to start his first lap and put in an absolute banger of a qualifying. We also got Dylan. Unfortunately, you didn't hear him talk earlier on, and he has been a little bit busy, so it's been a bit of a chaos run at this point. And I've got to say, my fellow South Africans, we got some great times coming your way. Jocks Racing putting in a 124.8, incredibly quick. Right behind him is Eleanor Blixen doing a 0.486. Incredible times from these guys. Already out the bat, they are trying to push the boundaries in Alpha Tier and give it everything they got. So I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, Jakes was unable to join us as his game started giving him a bit of a rough time as he gets going. But there's Jacques in his Bentley looking to try and conquer the world once again. And right behind him is Eleanor Blixen, and that is Sean from Eleanor Logistical Nightmare Racing. Fantastic guys to go and have a chat to the Logistical Nightmare team, and also a known racing group that's proudly for console, so glad to have them racing with us here at SARCO. Right behind is a gentleman I've been chatting to quite a lot, and that's Paul. That's Rainmaster 42 is his PlayStation ID, also in the Bentley, joining up Jacques, and looking to push it that one step further every single time. So glad to have him around and looking to make an effort as well. But losing our position to this man, that is V-Dub. And V-Dub is Marshall, who is is Harold, who's having a great time. Then we got Marshall, who's making a bit of headway in the Lamborghini. Very difficult car to drive, very difficult car to get right here at Brands Hatch. As these guys all get ready to push it one step further. Another one to watch out for is Ash in the Ferrari. Ashley is very well known in the Project Cars, currently leading it out and looking to have a bit of fun now back in for the round number 5 right here for SARCO ACC GT3. Greg pulling off to the side, going and deciding he's going to take a little bit of a breather. They've only got 4 minutes before the race actually kicks in for a full start, and we're looking forward to seeing what they can do right here at Brands Hatch. But I want to know from you guys, what is your thoughts of Brands Hatch, and what do you think is going to happen? And just to give you a bit of a heads up, some of the guys actually raced last night on PC, and I was very fortunate to have them racing with me and the game boss, namely Dylan, going from Spa to Brands Hatch, so a bit of a technical change from driving the Porsche at Spa to the Porsche on Brands Hatch. But the green numbers are looking to come out in force. So far, once again, quickest lap time done by Jacques, 124.2. Sean right behind him, Paul in 3rd place, Ryan in 4th place. There we got Harold, followed by Marshall, Greg, and CW Cats. I can't quite remember. That's Ross, followed by Ash, and Dylan lying in 10th place. He's not having a good time out here, but with 10 cars on the field, he's looking to try and power his way through as they look to climb and claw their way to the top. So glad to have everyone back for SARCO ACC GT3. This is where we're going to be in for an interesting run, and we'll have to see how it all goes. So far, Sean putting in the fastest lap. Jacques only 0.036, and he's having a bit of a rough time. Looks like he's just invalidated his lap, and we'll have to keep going as well. So now we've got Paul in 3rd place, a second off, so it's going to be a close race between 1st and 2nd off the line, but unfortunately Paul is a second off and has to work very, very hard in that Bentley to make it up. And as you can see, going field farming already, very, very difficult to sling that car in and to get it pointing in the right direction. Harold having a great bit of fun in having a great bit of fun in the Porsche. He's really going and screaming. Also want to keep an eye out for very, very consistent in his pace, and looks to try claw his way to the top. Marshall in the Lamborghini deciding to hold it off a bit. Ash in lying in 7th place at the moment with the Ferrari, and looking to try and move his way up through the pack as well. But so far, up at the top is Sean for Logistical Nightmare Racing. With only 1 minute and 13 seconds left of the race, or of the qualifying, guys are going to be scrambling to go and put in those extra bit of times, and they are running with next to no fuel. And as you can see in the circuit, there's only 3 cars pitted. That's Marshall, Greg, and Dylan opting to not go out as yet. They're going to try and claw their way back from the positions that they are. Jacques putting an incredible time, just beating out by 0.1 of a second ahead of Sean. So he's looking to keep the power on and rage on with the Bentley. And fantastic to see it. Nice to see a bit of a mixed battle at the front between the Bentley and the Ferrari. These two have been going on all season at each other to get one up, and it's going to be nice to see what they can do heading into the race, round number 5. And as you can see, Sean pulling off to the side. He's deciding that's enough is enough, and he's happy with that. All right, as we've got everyone coming around for their end of lap qualifying. We're going to go and jump out. Unfortunately, the game is going to crash because Kunos has decided in their infinite wisdom that they're not focusing on PlayStation as yet, but they are going to work a bit. Peter Heidemann, how are you, buddy? You managed to get the first comment in, and looking to have a bit of fun. And I want to know from everyone that's watching us, big welcome to you guys. Who are you supporting for round number 5 here at Brands Hatch? And who you think is going to be able to claw their way up to the top?
So I didn't choose not to do a lap. You do know the way. Okay.
Dylan going and giving some confidence. He's just showing support of overtaking me 1 million times last night, and starting at the back. He started in last night out of pure sympathy for me, which is very nice of him, I've got to say. So I'm just going back into, but there's a view of Dylan and his ride from the webcam, and it's a little bit mirrored at this point, which you can see lots of work that does go into the vehicle. And we've also got guys that are upgrading their gear. We've got one of the drivers using a Thrustmaster with a open wheel rim, and has got the Bluetooth rev light indicator in it as well, just to be like a boss. It's not by adding lights to your steering wheel, you have now made yourself 5 seconds quicker. Straight up. There we go. And as you can see, a lot of settings to actually play with in a set of courses. So lots of work can be done compared to our Porsche Euro Cup, where we actually can't do a lot of work on them. So definitely one thing to keep an eye out for. Simon Reeve going and saying how's it as well. So nice to have Simon Reeve joining us in the stream as well. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as we're getting ready to rock and roll, they're getting told they can select drive right here at Brands Hatch. We are trying to get back into the server. We're going to catch them on their rolling start when they go out. There we go, busy loading in now, and as you can see, we are back now out of Dylan's view. So unfortunately, you don't get to see the professional view that is brought up by Dylan. And we get back and going as everyone's lined up, ready for action. Let's see, will Jacques be able to pull away from Sean at the start, and the race is on right here at Brands Hatch. Jacques immediately goes to the middle of the circuit. Paul trying to get on the inside of Sean. Sean managing just to block out. Ryan having to battle his way out with Gerald. Gerald, he's really having a tough time there, but Ryan pushed out wide, trying to go on the outside of Paul. Not going to make any work there, so the guys really have to work. They have got one pit stop to do, but Jacques so far running away. Sean in second place, Paul in third, Ryan in third, and immediately has Gerald chasing him down. Ash moving up and deciding he wants to get out and play, pushing Gerald just a little bit. Dylan now up into 8th place. He's looking to make a move. Marshall also putting some pressure on in the Lamborghini, and you can see how these cars are all fighting. Our Alpha tier running away with the race with 39 minutes. It's a 40-minute race with a mandatory pit stop, so the guys have to really work and dig deep here. And you can see how hard they're trying to push. Ash trying to keep the pressure on, but catch the cat right at the back, getting right on to Dylan. And that's Ross, who's just trying to push Dylan that a little bit more. Craig trying to hang on to the back at this moment. You can see how hard they're working. Dylan now is looking to try and go a little bit defensive, trying to hold back Marshall. Marshall immediately closes the door on him. Dylan has to go on the defensive to hold Ross. And the battle is definitely raging on. So Dylan's really trying to push Marshall here. Marshall trying to go after Ash and is really putting the pressure on. As we go further up, we can see Ryan putting pressure on Paul though, and he's looking to try and climb up. So we've seen the Sarge go and command his way around the circuit many times before, but he seems to be having a bit of a rough time now as Paul in that Bentley is making it as wide as possible. Right behind him though, Gerard having a ton of fun. He's just keeping an eye out on the action and not wanting to make a move as yet. Marshall still trying to keep close to Ash, but at the same time dealing with the onslaught coming from behind him, and that's Dylan of the Green Mamba. So Marshall really having to dig deep here to try and keep the pace as they battle their way around the circuit. So Ash is in a bit of a predicament now as he's trying to pull away in that Ferrari. Looks like we got one of the cars just touching the grass, so Ash just has to be aware of that. That's Gerard, who's not a happy camper, so they're having to really work their way around. You can see how hard they're working, but Ross and Greg have pulled into the pits, and they are trying to do everything they can to keep on going. But it does look like we got a slight late entry as well, and that is Agaman, who is currently in 11th place, who's just trying to get himself going. Was late to the race and unfortunately not where he wants to be, so really out of position there. But the two to watch out for is Ross and Greg, who have pitted. and they're looking for an early pit stop strategy to try and pull them through. Dylan going very wide, goes out on the marbles, loses a lot of time. Marshall keeping the pressure on Ash as much as possible. So Ash having to try and battle his way around to hold back Marshall. You can see Marshall looking on the inside, but decides rather not going to do it. Going to keep into the toe. Once again, this is a very difficult circuit. A lot of players follow the leader, and the guys have to try and work their way around it. So a lot of hard work. Every single one of these guys really have to try and battle their way around the circuit. Incredible work from our Alpha tier in the early parts of this race. Marshall still trying to keep the pressure on, unfortunately losing a lot of time. And now Dylan immediately back on. So the green number looking to strike. Marshall trying to hold his ground and try and keep Dylan at bay. Gets a better drive than Ash though, so now gaining a bit of time on Ash and having to push hard. Does go a little bit wider, trying to straighten up the corner a little bit. Dylan doing exactly the same, looking left and right, decides to take the inside line, pushing into turn one. Marshall just managing to close the door, Dylan backing out of it, but really these guys are pushing incredibly hard. You can see Dylan once again trying to go late on the brakes and trying to force Marshall out wide. Marshall losing out a position to Dylan, but looks to try and do a bit of a fight back. Dylan managing to get by, Ash off into the weeds, and that is it. As you could hear Dylan going and shouting Mamba Fever as Ash going and falling off, and now Dylan is on a hard charge with Marshall chasing him down. So this has just changed up for a big time for these two drivers. And let's go back up to the top. Jacques having a bit of a problem as Sean from Logistical Nightmare Racing is pushing hard to try and get into that first place spot. Ferrari first, Bentley, as we've seen before, now having a back marker in front of them as well. So this is going to be a little bit interesting of how they're going to deal with it. With Argument. Argument pulls into the pits though, deciding for an early pit as well. And you can see how hard Sean is pushing Jacques at this point, trying to force a mistake out of that Bentley. And that's where what you have to do around the circuit is just try and force a mistake out of your competitor and hope you can get by. And at the same time, for you not to have a problem. As we drop back, we can see Marshall still trying to put the pressure on Dylan. Dylan getting a better drive out, so he's keeping on going. And we'll have to try and find any way to get past. But further back, we've got Paul, who's having a great time with Ryan right behind him, lying in 4th place. Dylan into 5th place, so Dylan has moved up into 5th and looking to try and climb his way up. 6th place is Marshall, and then we've got Ashley in 8th place, Ross in 3rd, Gerard in 9th, who's just coming out of the pits. He decided for an early pit. Greg in 10th, and Argument in 11th place, 2 laps behind, unfortunately joining a bit late, but hopefully he can make up a bit of time throughout the race. As we jump back into our top guys, so far you can see how hard we have got Sean pushing Jacques, trying to force a mistake as much as possible out of them, and having to try and climb and claw his way past Jacques. And this is what we love to see, the GT3s really pushing each other, trying to take that little bit of a step ahead, and not the easiest thing to do at this point. Riva Cornish going and really going and having a bit of fun with us. Bianca also joining in to watch the action, so glad to see that coming into play. Everyone ready to have a bit of fun as our drivers push their way to the top. Bianca going and saying, come on guys, come on guys. So the excitement is definitely there. We are feeling it here tonight, and you can see how hard they are trying to push each other. Marshall dropping a bit back though, losing about a second behind Dylan. Now it's all about getting into a rhythm and having to work their way around. And you can see how hard Marshall's trying to push. He goes onto the dirt, losing a bit of time there. Not what you want to do, and really wants to try and hang it all together. So the guys are having to try and figure out and try and balance out both speed and efficiency around the circuit. And this is what Brands Hatch is all about. It's all about finding those limits and really trying to give it that one step further as you battle your way around. Marshall losing a bit of time to Dylan once again, and definitely struggling right there to just keep it all together, and that is exactly what Dylan wants, to have a bit of a gap. And so Jacques is also starting to pull a bit of a gap, 1.9 seconds away from Sean, and right behind them is Paul, trying to keep on going. So Paul's trying to work hard as well to maintain that third place and push his way up to the top. As I said, that mandatory pit stop is in, and so far we've got 4 cars that have done the mandatory pit stop, and the rest of the guys still need to get themselves into the pits and back out. So it depends on how you fueled your car as well, to a last of 40 minutes to give yourself the most amount of advantage. So definitely the hard work does come in, and practice is perfect. Sarge 2.9 seconds behind Paul. Ryan really doing everything he can, and you can see how those brakes on the Mercedes light up, and it shows how hard they're actually being worked around the circuit. A lot of guys go and say that Brands Hatch is not a GT3 circuit, and it's actually very difficult to get these cars around because you just can't get them up to the pace that you would like them to. But SARCO deciding to have a bit of fun with CT Auto Electrical and said, let's put the drivers to the test and put them around Brands Hatch. With 29 minutes left of the race to go, you can see Jacques starting to pull away, 2.1 seconds ahead of Sean. Sean touching the dirt a little bit, getting a little bit unsteady. Now we know the logistical nightmare racing team have always been a big prevaler and pushing hard into racing with us and working as hard as they can with SARCO. So glad to have them around, but definitely they are, you can see Sean is posing a bit of a challenge in the championship to Jacques. Right behind them is Paul, who's also looking to make his name right here in SARCO, and is having a lot of fun in the Bentley, and you can see how hard he's having to work that Bentley through turn 1, and not the easiest thing to do. 3.3 seconds behind him is Ryan. So Ryan is just sticking in the wings, waiting for the mistake to happen, just trying to stay in the groove, and that's the whole thing about it. Keep in the groove and you'll keep on going. Dylan trying once again a little bit too hard, goes out very wide onto the marbles. He is trying to push himself. He's managed to break away from Marshall quite substantially, 6.6 seconds. So he's definitely going on. So our Alpha tier starting to open up now right here at Brands Hatch. We're going to see it all start closing up as soon as the guys get into the pits and then work their way around. So as you can see on the mini-map, right on your right lower screen, you can see how a bit split up it is at this present point, as everyone's just trying to keep in the groove, keep going, and battle their way around. Dylan has got a lot of hard work. He is 9 seconds down on Ryan, so he's having to try work there, and you can see going a little bit too much over the curb, unsettling the car, and not what you want. Where if we head back to Jacques, who's having a lot of fun, keeping it consistent, 12.2 seconds. I mean, that's starting to work with a calendar at this rate. But interesting enough, take a look who's gone into the pits and heading out. And that is Sean, lying in 5th place now. Sean going for his lap, maybe just going to get out just in front of Marshall. So managing to retain a position ahead of Marshall, but maybe a bit of clever driving on his part. Went and pitted that a little bit later and much earlier than Jacques, Paul and Dylan. So Dylan running in 4th place now, having to try and push his way on. You can see how hard Sean's trying to push the car, gets a little bit on the dirt. Marshall now trying to give a bit of chase. So Marshall and Ash still have to pull in the pits. They're going to have to work incredibly hard. But they're still 15.7 seconds ahead of Ross in the Bentley. So Ross trying to cruise his way around the circuit. A lot of these guys are also very excited, as next weekend is the Kyalami 9 Hour, where these cars are going to be hitting the South African soil as well at Kyalami. So really excited to see it. But hopefully one day we can see our Alpha drivers really putting in the effort and getting and racing some of these cars, or maybe even just racing in total. But we'll make sure to bring that soon as racing starts opening up. Lots in the pipeline, ladies and gentlemen, and right here at SARCO. And a big thank you to our sponsor, CT Auto Electrical. Go and take a look at them. If you need any electrical work done to your road car or race car, have a chat to CT Auto Electrical with the finest expertise in South Africa. But let's jump back to Brands Hatch with SARCO as we watch out GT3 Alpha tier really giving everything they got. So I want to hear from the chat, YouTube and Facebook. What do you guys think with the early pit stop strategy like we've seen from Ross? Sarge pulled in the pits and is back out. Or do you like the idea of what Sean's done? Run that a little bit later into the 20 minutes, just over 20 minutes in the race. Pull in the pits and then try fight your way back up. I want to hear from you guys in YouTube, in Facebook. A little bit of thoughts from your side and your perspective. What would you do in the situation? So not only we got our SARCO drivers doing incredibly well and coming up with strategies, but I want to hear from our fans out there to give us a little bit of input as well with their expertise. You guys are getting to see all the action, but take a look. Paul up into 2nd place, running 14.6 seconds behind Jacques. 3rd is Dylan, who's just making his way around the final corner, and he's immediately got Sean on the back of him. So Sean's going to try and pressure to get him by. But one thing that Sean has also got is he's got a notice saying, oh right, Dylan still needs to pull in the pits. I don't want to lose time, but I don't have to be as aggressive as I need to be. So he can back off just a little bit, and we'll have to see how that goes. But in the pits we so far got Marshall, who's pitted, and we've got Ash, who has pitted. Looks like Ash is going to be coming out of the pits. No, Ash is going into pits. So as Ash pulls in, Marshall's in the pits. So the only 3 people that have not been into the pits is Dylan lying in 3rd place, Paul in 2nd, and Jacques in 1st. Alright guys, now I want to find out from Bianca, Simon Reeves, Peter Heidemann, everyone, what do you think of Jacques' strategy right now? Running much later into the race, trying to open up as much of a gap as possible. He knows the Bentley can go as long as possible, use those legs to try and make up a bit of ground to get away from his competitors. Do you think it's the right way of doing it? We've seen him do it all season, but we've also seen it backfire for some drivers. So it does work, but it's a double-edged blade, depending on how close your competitors are. Example, take a look at Sean duking out with Dylan, trying not to lose time, but trying to regain that position. He knows that the battle's on. Oh, gets a little bit of a tap, trying a little bit too hard on the inside of Dylan, and the two come together. So not so nice there, but Sean takes a tighter inside line and gets it ahead. Dylan decides he's going to just open the gap. He knows that Sean is in a different race compared to him at this present moment due to the pit stop. Let him go, try and keep in the draft and pull himself along further up to get away from the likes of Ross, Ryan Greg, Gerard, Marshall, Ash, and Ruggerman. So definitely trying that a little bit harder to pull away. It's a great thing to see as they go through. Also, a massive thank you to you guys. I know that we have got our State of the Nation speech that's currently on. So thank you for joining us. As we just had to restart the Bravo server, getting it ready, because we got Bravo tier coming out straight after our Alpha tier. So we're looking forward to seeing what they can do around Brands Hatch. So that's why you heard me falling out of the secondary sim rig of Dylan right here at SARCO HQ. And Dylan having to work really hard fighting the Porsche. Sean going way off into the dirt there. So Sean's going feld farming with a Ferrari. Not a happy camper there. Dylan though saying thank you very much and starting to pull away. Peter Heinemann, I love that strategy. I think Jacques can make it work. Very, very true, Peter. I've got to say, Jacques has kept very consistent. He's managed to pull a gap. I've seen it backfire, but he seems to have got it a bit knuckled down. But he has got Dylan chasing him, part of the Green Mamba. So maybe a bit of Green Mamba fever might kick in. We'll have to find out. As they're the only two that have not pitted, there has been 20 minutes left of the race. So they have got half distance right now to carry on pushing it right to the end. It's going to be close because as much as Jacques has pulled away, Dylan and Sean are chasing him down. So let's see where Jacques is. Jacques is currently lying at turn 5, and Sean and Dylan are coming just off the back straight. So they're not too far behind. They've got a fair distance up to Jacques, but they can close it up, working together, keeping a draft, and not trying to slow each other down in terms of overtaking. They might be able to catch him actually. So it might run as a backfire, but Jacques is starting to pull away. As you can see, he's way on the other side of the circuit now. He is trying to gap it as far as possible with only 20 minutes left of the race. Sorry, 18 minutes and 58 seconds. So we'll have to see how it all turns out for him. Is he going to pit this lap though? Does so he's into the pit. So Jacques is into the pit, and let's keep an eye though. How far is the rest of our drivers? So it depends on how long Jacques is going to be in that pit. So let's keep an eye as Jacques pulls into the pits. But Ryan is also back into the pit. So Ryan having a bit of an issue. Probably a little bit of damage from losing it. So unfortunately we have missed it. Jacques is in the pits. And if you take a look on the map, here is Dylan in the red, starting to come up to the final corner now. Jacques still in the pits, just going out though. He's going to have to really leg it now to try and pull away. Dylan still hasn't pitted, but right behind him is Sean. Sean now putting the pressure on. Sean gets past Ryan and now sees Jacques ahead of them. So now it is logistical nightmare getting cheered on by Dion van Heerden saying, "Go, Sean. This is definitely it." He just realizes the big opportunity in front of him. Yes, he has got Dylan, who hasn't pitted, so he hasn't got to worry about Dylan at this point, but he mustn't lose time because Jacques is right ahead of him. I think Jacques' plan might have slightly backfired on him. He was in the pits for slightly longer than he wanted. Dylan trying to keep on the power. Sean has got the toe though. He's looking to try and get by. You can see how hard they are working. So let's take a look at the lap. Let's see the lap times at the moment so far for the race. And Dylan really trying to put the pressure on. They've done 15 laps. They're 1.6 seconds behind. So really trying to lay on the pressure here and try and work their way through. You can see how hard Sean's trying to get past Dylan. Dylan having to go very, very defensive. Does let Sean go a little bit. Has to take a slightly evasive maneuver. But Jacques is starting to pull away now. He's got to start opening up that gap. With only 16 seconds to go, we know Sean can try and reel him in. We've seen the logistical nightmare racing machine pull in Jacques before. And Jacques has to go and incredibly safe, fast driving at this point. Part of the Project Wet Cat Racing. So it's a Wet Cat versus the versus the logistical nightmare. Peter Heidemann, I think Dylan will run the Sly Pete 77.7 strategy. Well, I do think he's got to pull a rabbit out of his hat. As I'm just taking a look towards his screen, I can see he's getting ready to go into the pits. So Dylan's going to try and head into the pits, get himself sorted on and back out there. He's got to try and keep ahead of Rainmaster. That's Paul, who's a little bit further back behind him. You can see how hard Sean is trying to make up. 2.2 seconds. Jacques trying to pull away. Dylan making his way. Right behind him is Ryan, who's still giving chase. Fueled for the race, pits as late as possible, Peter Heidemann says. I think that is very true, but they still have to put some form of fuel in. They've got a mandatory pit stop, so I don't know. He's got to put some sort of fuel in. It might bite Dylan at this point. He's 18 seconds ahead of Ross. Is 9 seconds ahead of Paul, and having to really think about it here. Very, very, have to work his way through. Yes, the tires will last, but unfortunately, with the mandatory pit stop, that's where it all comes into play. Sean still putting pressure on, is starting to pull Jacques in. 1.86 seconds that last sector. So he is starting to claw at Jacques' racing machine. That Bentley is now starting to get hounded by the yellow Ferrari. And let's see if Jacques will be able to hold it and to keep it going. So ladies and gentlemen, with only 14 minutes of the race, do you think that Jacques will be able to keep Sean at bay? And that's going to be the question right here. And where is Dylan going to come out when he pulls into the pit? So Dylan is still pushing as high as he can. Ryan is right on the back of him, so Ryan's not going off, and Dylan's finding it very hard to shake Ryan off. Once again, going round. So how late is Dylan going to pit? He needs to do that mandatory pit stop, and that's where it comes in. Jacques going a little bit on the dirt, losing slight bit of time. You can see Sean 1.5 seconds behind. He is really trying to eat into Jacques' time as much as possible. You just got to keep it smooth. You just got to keep it consistent, especially around this track. It is extremely difficult. It's a lot of follow the leader with very few opportunities to make a major pass. But if you get one corner wrong, you can lose so much time. It's like Monza. Very, very difficult circuit if you actually think about it, because it just takes one mistake and it can cost you seconds, not split seconds, but full-blown seconds. And that's exactly what's happening here. Jacques going and losing a bit of time. Sean pushing harder, 1.2 seconds. So they are really climbing on here. Dylan, once again, still needing to pit. He's the only car that needs to do his mandatory pit stop. Ryan is still keeping on the back of him, so Ryan is trying to pull himself up. He's going after Marshall. He's 10 seconds behind Marshall, but trying to use Dylan as a bit of a pull. So Dylan's into the pits, and we'll have to see how he goes. But take a look back to the front, though, and that is Sean, ladies and gentlemen, who's right on the back of Jacques. So Sean really pushing hard here, caught right onto the back of Jacques. The Wet Cats have got to deal with the logistical nightmares right now. So let's see how they're going to go as they battle their way around. Will the Wet Cats be able to keep Logistical Nightmare Racing at bay? Right here, Brands Hatch in our Alpha tier. We will have to find out. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a betting man here, but I know for all 11 of you that's busy watching right now, and so many more that are watching right across our different channels, who do you think is going to get this? Will Sean be able to prevail? Will Jacques be able to hold off the onslaught? We'll have to find out. So I want to see you guys in the comments. Let's see how much love is going for our drivers. So everyone, show your love to our drivers. Will Sean be able to do it? Sean's really pushing hard, trying to do everything he can right now, and he is pushing extremely hard to get right onto the back of Jacques. You can see he is just clamoring at the bit to try and catch up, getting into the toe. So now he's in the point of the coding where you can actually slipstream. If you stay within 0.5 seconds, you technically in the guy's slipstream, and the game starts to pull you along a little bit. You get into a bit of a vacuum, so he has got the advantage if he can keep it. Dylan going and dropping back. He is 15 seconds behind Paul, so Paul managing to get back out there. Ryan Adams, great strategy, fight back Dylan, and that's definitely, he's got a lot of work ahead of him. As we know, Paul is not going to make this easy for him at all in that Bentley. Paul is currently in third place and wants to try and battle his way up through it, so definitely hard work there. But we head back to our top spot, and you can see how close the racing is starting to get in the last 10 minutes of the race, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see Sean trying to really push hard, and Jacques trying to just find out any little gap possible. Sorry about Tim, the cameraman. We still haven't replaced the guy. Listen, if you want a camera work, please go and send your CV through to us here at SARCO, because Tim has really not been doing so like in camera. He likes to film the trees at this point. But you can see how hard Jacques is trying to push that Bentley 20 laps in, and so far managing to build a little bit of a gap on Sean. Sean getting a better exit out of the final corner though. Seems like the mid-engine Ferrari a little bit more nimble out of the corners versus the big Bentley, which has a lot more straight line grunt and is able to go onto the curbs a bit easier than the Ferrari. We've seen it happen before with the heavier front engines, the Aston Martins, the Bentleys, and the Mercedes are able to get on the curbs and be a lot more settled versus the likes of Sean in the Ferrari. So we're going to have to see how it all turns out. Sean really trying to put the pressure on now, gets into the toe. He's really trying to hammer himself along here and is trying to pull himself. He's 0.6 seconds and he's running out of time. Dylan trying to gain a bit of time. He's 15 seconds behind Ross, behind Paul, and he has got Ross chasing him down 7 seconds. So there is a bit of hard work going on there at the back, but our race for the lead is still charging on, ladies and gentlemen. How is this all going to turn out? It's anyone's guess. So guys, start cheering on. Who do you think it's going to be? I want to see the love. Is it going to be Jacques or is it going to be Sean? Let's see the love in Facebook and on YouTube. Who do you think it's going to be? Right here, SARCO GT3, proudly brought to you by CT Auto Electrical, right here at Brands Hatch. Round number 5 of our Alpha tier. We didn't get to see them go out last time, and now they have come back with an absolute vengeance and are really performing like they have no worries in the world at this point. You can see Sean in the toe now, trying to pull himself along that logistical nightmare racing machine, the yellow Ferrari. Really having some hard work, trying to get into the toe and pull himself along. Paul though going and relaxing at the back, 14 seconds ahead of Dylan, so he's just got to keep it consistent. Sean falling a little bit back, so Sean is dropping a little bit back behind Jacques. Not what he wants. Goes off wide though. Sean off into the weeds, losing major time. That gives Jacques some breathing room. big change for the front here, though, as Jacques now has massive amounts of breathing room to pull away from Sean. Sean's got incredible hard work to go on now, as he's got to try and power his way through, and really having to work hard. As we take a look, Paul trying to keep himself going ahead of Dylan. Dylan is 14 seconds, so Dylan is catching 1 second a lap, but I don't think it's going to be happen. And it does look like we have lost Ash. Ash has disconnected, so Tyler, unfortunately, it looks like Ash has disconnected, so Ashley is out of the race. Not going to be a happy camper there. And we'll try to get some words from Ash to find out what actually happened in the race as well. So not a fun time there to lose one of our faster contenders. But so far, Sharks pulling away. Sean in second place, 4.6 seconds, with only 5.5 minutes left of the race. It's going to be lots of hard work, and once again, Sean losing out. I think the frustration's starting to kick in, going and nailing it onto the dirt more than once now. So frustration starting to get in there. Unfortunately, that's when you start to lose time and critical seconds. Has still got a massive gap to Paul lying in third place, but it does look like a Wet Cat going to take the first place position at this point. Anything can happen. As we know, we've seen that Ash unfortunately went and disconnected. Ross currently in third place for the Wet Cats. So the Wet Cats are really flexing their muscles right now, and rather happy. Gerard's going and having a bit of fun chasing after Greg. So this is how this is going to work out, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see how they're going to be able to battle their way around. So Greg having to try and push his way as far to the front as possible to keep away from Gerard. Gerard is just doing everything he can. He's part of the Rockstars team, and is just trying to keep on going. And Greg going and joining us a little bit later than the rest, so he's having to have a lot of fun and try and catch up in the championship points and keep Gerard at bay. Gerard's been racing with us for quite some time here at SARCO, and it's nice to see him coming and joining in with ACC. Also one of the big guys to push ACC, Center Course Competency only in SARCO as well. So glad to have the community of SARCO looking to grow the SARCO. And if you guys are interested, please go and take a look on Facebook or on YouTube. Get hold of us, find out how you can do it. We have got Project Cars on Monday, which was part of our Porsche Euro Cup, and we've got a set of course every Thursday, part of our GT3 races. So glad to have you guys aboard and joining us for this stuff, and we'd love to have you guys joining us and racing more often, or even joining us right here in the chat. We'd also like to thank all the guys that are watching YouTube and Facebook. Love to have you guys here, and really showing the support. Sean 10 seconds behind Jacques, so it looks like Jacques is starting to have a bit more breathing room every single lap. But it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and that is the truest form in motorsport, and especially in sim sport as well, as every single one of these drivers are just looking to try and climb their way up. Dylan's still trying to battle his way through. Ross having a bit of fun times at him lying in 5th place. Greg still keeping ahead of Gerard in 7th. Then we have got Marshall lying in 8th place. Ryan in 9th. And our latecomer to the race that has just been keeping it consistent is Ugerman, who's just been having quite some fun times actually. Keeping it consistent, joined in late, but still keeping the car on the black stuff and having lots and lots of fun. So glad to see Ugerman going and joining us and looking to try and push the sim racing a little bit more every single time. So we have got 1 minute and 55 seconds left of the race right here at Brands Hatch. And it looks like the grid has opened themselves up quite a bit. So the only battle that I can physically see is still between Gerard duking it out with Greg. Very, very close. Only 2.1 seconds behind. So really trying to push that Porsche of the Rockstars team right to the limit to catch up to Greg, who is just trying to keep it consistent. Glad to see the Porsches duking it out. They were nerfed earlier in the year. When I say nerfed, they had a lot of pace taken out of them. Their balance of performance was redone, and a lot of guys strayed away from the Porsches. So glad to see a bit of Porsches coming and duking and having a bit of fun. Also nice to see like the Bentleys and the Mercedes coming in. And one thing we're going to show a little bit of love to, the only Lamborghini in the Alpha tier at the moment is Marshall. And we just get reports that our leader is on the final lap. That is Jacques. So we're going to do a bit of a podium lap for him as Jacques makes his way around the circuit. Clean racing for him. And going to be smiling all the way through to the bank, taking the checkered flag. 40 minutes of racing right here at Brands Hatch, round number 5 of our SARCO GT3 series, and absolutely incredible work from them, and I'm absolutely blown away by the level of competition that these guys managed to put out here, and absolutely fantastic work. And it's going to be smiling, so taking the race win as he makes his way around the circuit, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a massive round of applause. First place of the Wet Cats and of the GT3 for Brands Hatch, round number 5, proudly brought to you by SARCO and CT Auto Electrical. Jacques, second place, 17 seconds and still pushing, is Sean, part of Logistical Nightmare Racing. Go and take a look at Logistical Nightmare Racing if you want to go and meet up with a community that works very closely with us, as we are glad to have them and look forward to having more Logistical Nightmare Racing teams join in with us. Third place also goes to the Wet Cats, and that is Paul, who his one goal, he said, was to beat the Mumbas, the Green Mumbas, around round number 5. Fourth place going to Dylan after a bit of a chaos start, starting out in last place, battling in to make his way through, and literally when I say he just climbed in, he didn't do practice. His practice was his qualifying, and glad to have him right up there. Fifth place goes to Ross, then followed by Greg, who's still battling out against Gerard. Gerard trying to get the drive though, so he might have a change here. Gerard really trying to keep into the toe. Greg trying to keep consistent, really putting the power on, but it does look like Greg's going to take that 6th place with Gerard in 7th. 8th place goes to Marshall. 9th place at the moment goes to the one and only, the Sarge, Ryan, followed by Ugerman, who started late, managed to get in, move up a position because Ash went and disconnected, and finishing up in 10th place. So that's what it is. It ain't over till the fat lady sings, and you keep going no matter the circumstances, and that's what Ugerman did to here. Absolutely fantastic work. This was our Alpha tier, ladies and gentlemen, and absolutely wow, what exciting racing from our Alpha tier. And we're going to get a little bit of news from our Alpha tier from Dylan, who's just climbing out of the rig, taking a big deep breath after some very close racing, and I'm sure he's going to tell a little bit of how difficult it is to really work these GT3s around the track. already on there.
So welcome everybody. I am now done. I just see great strategic fight back there. Yes, Ryan, that was all part of the plan. What happened to Solesh? I can tell you exactly what happened to Solesh. That was Mamba fever. That's what happened right there, and I'm sure that Ashley will tell you otherwise. But I do want to just check the Discord. A great freaking overtake, I must say so for myself. A little inside move there up into turn number 2 on Marshall, and I must say he did give me lots and lots of space. So really happy for that. Just gonna jump into the Bravo tier qualifying. They had just started, so it was a quick jump off the rig for myself. Quickly just sanitize the wheel, wipe down the seat, and let Stephen have a go.
When are we doing interview?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
I think Dylan's camera. Dylan's. Is that Dylan's phone?
Yeah, I think so. Phone's down on the floor. Wait, it got moved.
Okay.
Jokes are looking at the camera.
Oh gosh.
Wow,
nice.
Just swapping things around here.
Cool.
Stand by. There we go.
There we go.
Nice.
Just get us on screen here. Okay, as you can see, I'm like trying to see myself in the camera. So good evening, everybody. A very late welcome. And with us in the commentary box, we've got Paul, aka Rainmaster, and Jacques racing the winner of the race. Project Wet Cat definitely showing their stuff there. And I believe that is Sean that's now joined us.
Yes. How's it, gents?
How's it,
Sean?
So,
yeah. Yes.
Let's start off with you, Paul. I kept seeing that bloody gap getting bigger and bigger and bigger as I was trying to fight my way back up. I was frantically running around to try and get the stream organized. So managed to get out, did 2 laps, completely duffed it, and realized that there was something that I hadn't done. So I thought, well, what the heck, let's just start from the back and see how it goes. Just didn't get into my rhythm, and I just couldn't close you down because I wanted to say it takes 1 Mamba to beat 2 cats. Well, that wasn't the theory this time. Just take us through your race.
I had actually a quiet one, pull off at the start, and just I knew I didn't have Jacques or Sean's pace, so just fell in behind them and kept it going, kept it clean, and just made sure I stayed in front of that green Porsche thingy that because I've been bitten once or twice, so no, today made sure, and this was my least prepared track. Moved house in the week, so yeah, literally did I think 10 laps yesterday, and then jumped into the rig 20 minutes before quali, and that was it.
Well,
ready
listen,
to go.
It definitely worked in your favor, so good job there. And then let's jump to you, Sean. I wasn't going to give you the place, as you saw with myself and Jacques at Laguna Seca. Definitely was making it a little bit difficult for you. Eventually you realized, okay, you're going quicker than me, it went a little bit wide, and you go and duff it 2 corners later and just give me the place back.
Yes, I don't know. Well, luck wasn't on my side. But just before the first pit stop, I call him Jeff, said to me right here.
I think we all call him Jeff.
Yes, yeah.
Shut up, Jeff.
So yeah, he came through saying right here, a puncher. So I went into the pits. Obviously, pit strategy was just to stop and go.
Yep.
I thought to myself, let me just go through with it. After the pits, after passing you, I can start feeling. There's not a lot of left-hand corners, but I can start feeling it's getting bad. And I lost it at one stage, just in front of you. Then I don't know what happened. I was very shocked to see Jacques all of a sudden, actually in front of us. And then I'm like, no, you know what, I'm gonna try to go for this. And all of a sudden, I think like half a second or maybe a little bit more behind Jock. All of a sudden, Uncle Jeff says to me, left rear, slow puncher.
Oh, no,
And from there, I just couldn't get the car home. It was, as soon as I had to put more traction controls, as soon as I get on the throttle too quickly, the car starts sliding, or it's making like a jiggly ass, you want to say. So, yeah, but congrats, to Jock and Paul.
Thanks,
For
man.
making up the podium. It was actually a really interesting drive.
But Sean, we thought you were going to run out of fuel, man. So I was
Yeah.
seconds a lap. I'm like, yes, run out of fuel. Come on.
No, I think I finished with like 7 liters still, so I had more than enough. But I just couldn't handle the car. It was just I think I ended up with 24.8 psi in the right rear and 25.1 on the left rear. So it was quite difficult.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Let's go to Jacques, race winner. An easy win, should I say? Or
It didn't start easy. So I forgot to consult with my teammates about the pit strategy. So I, decided to do my own thing, thinking I was a smart ass and coconut. Sorry. And I ended up splitting the strategy. So I had to put in fuel, and then as we were starting to go, Paul and Ross said, are you guys ready for the strategy and whatever? And I said, yeah, I'm splitting the strategy. And they were both shocked. They were like,
what do you
what's
mean?
going on? Yeah, what do you mean? Like, And so I calculated and I realized I had to make a 10-second gap on Sean. And knowing Sean, it's almost impossible to gap him at any track in ACC. So I decided, put my mic up, ignore everyone, just, go flat out. And then Paul came on the radio saying that Sean's having issues. He'd made a bit of a mistake and whatever. So I said, okay, I have clean air, just come into the pits and, take the punishment. And as I come out, you and Sean are a second and a half, 2 seconds behind me, fighting it out. And I was like, my guardian angel has blessed me tonight.
So the
Mamba helped the cats, eh? Oh my gosh. Sorry, Sean, I'll have to consult you for the next race.
Yeah, man, but what a ending. And for the last few laps, Sean was on my butt, on my bumper the whole time. I think it went between 9/10 to 6/10 to back to 9/10 again, and it was just crazy until he slowed down. And I mean, we all suspected it was fuel, but surprisingly, it was his tire. So I just had to get it home, and I mean, Project Wet Cat Racing top 5. I mean, that's I can be really proud of that.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I just want to make a mention there to Ross, because I said I just want to beat one of the Project Cat Racing, and he's like, not me. Well, Ross, psych. And I think that did have a little bit of that pressure, realizing that I was ahead of him. Going through turn 6, he ran wide, went off on the grass, and he basically just gave me that play. So thank you, Ross.
Yeah.
Right, guys, thank you so much. I'm just having a glance. They
Cool,
done
Dylan.
with the qualifying there.
Awesome.
But thank you. Well done, Jacques, Sean, and
Thanks,
Paul.
Dylan.
We'll see you guys
Thanks,
next week.
Dylan. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Cool. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
So, guys, the qualifying is officially done. And you can see that the TVs are changing as we now go back into our Bravo tier lobby. Just having a look at some of the positions there. So Duppy returns off after him having his surgery. Ronaldo's in second. We've got Guy in third. Pete in fourth. Flip Van Sale, he's in fifth place with Ryan in sixth. Look at that. Stephen is in seventh place ahead of Papa Whiskey, who's now called himself Chicken Wing, so that's a bit confusing. And then we've got, that is Brett in ninth position. As Stephen's is called himself the undisputed fastest back marker ever. Oh, that actually takes some getting used to. So guys, we are just looking for the server. There it is. So 9 drivers in our Bravo tier. I just want to get our password in there and ready. And then I'll get rid of me face and we'll be able to go into the race itself. Let's just have a glance over so we can see what's going on there. So just a couple of seconds left, and Bianca saying, "Go Stephen, kick some coconuts." So even Bianca's code coconuts. So yes, Peter, you're right. The tires do hold, but I must say those last couple of laps do make it pretty freaking interesting. So let's jump in. They are currently on their flying lap, their rolling start. But we can jump into that view. Get rid of that. So there we go. We are racing here at Brands Hatch. So to everyone who has joined us, welcome, welcome, welcome. Just jumping across each of the different platforms. We are on both Facebook and on YouTube, and it looked like Ryan had a little bit of a bump going down into turn number 1, and that's dropped him all the way down into a 9th position. Just checking who's here on the YouTube channel. So we do have Peter Heidemann. He's both here and on Facebook, so welcome, Peter. Jacques Vermeulen saying, "Go Bad Bull or go Freshie." It is going to be an absolute cracker here this evening. Dupi, the return to the series, he finds himself out in front, being chased by a guy in the that Ferrari. It looks like Flip, he's got himself further up the order, and look at that, Stephen Koenig up into 4th place, as thought that was Flip running himself a little bit wide, but he did manage to hang on to that corner. I see lots and lots of shaking of the head there by Stephen next to me. I think he might have gone off himself. And that is the confirmation. Cameraman Tim, not even Cameraman Tim can find him. Well, there he is. So he is way down the order now. Once they go past the splits, we'll definitely see them change. But let's just jump back to the front of the pack. Duppy leads with Guy in 2nd place. Flip is in 3rd. And in 4th place, it's still showing that it is Stephen. But you can see that he is further down the order now as they start crossing that start-finish line. So we've got Dion van Heerden who's joined us saying, "How's it, Dylan?" Dion, surely you should be racing, man. What is going on? Nevertheless, it's really awesome that you are on the stream, you are watching, supporting your fellow drivers. Really good to see, man. So see that Stephen has decided that he is going into the pits, and I think that is a really good strategy. Get that pit over and done with, get himself back on, get himself into a rhythm, and hopefully he'll be able to start closing up some of that gap there. We see Duppy still has Guy behind him, and it looks like there's been a little mistake further up, because now we've got, I'm assuming that this is Stefan, a Papa Whiskey. There wasn't any notice that he was changing his name. So Stefan, if that is you, or if somebody is watching, please just let us know. Chicken Wing PW1, is that Papa Whiskey? We really would love to know. Unfortunately, to see that Dion saying that he's having network issues, very disappointing, and we most definitely don't like that at all. Just looking at Ronaldo's, he's now making a run on Brett. Brett from LNR. Both the 2 Ferraris, out of the 3 close together. Brett from Australia, and a guy, he is our US counterpart, who says that he has to check his school schedule to be able to come and race with us, with him being a good couple of hours behind, that he does race in the afternoon. And that just shows some of the commitment the guys have racing with us here. So it does look like Brett is closing up that gap just a little bit on Duppy. It was just over a second. It's now 1.5 seconds. So it looks like that there was a bit of a mistake, or Duppy starting to knuckle down. I did have a very interesting moment, and it was in exactly the same place that I saw Gerard go off in our Alpha tier, just touching the curb on the outside, going down into just before Sterling. So that sheen curve, I just clipped the outside. For some reason did go down into third gear. I kept it in fourth, and the car just ran wide, put the wheel on the dirt, and that was all she wrote. Ooh, Sly Pete coming out of the pits. Let's see, he's going to have guy right behind him, so he's managed to get himself right between the two leaders, but that'll be a blue flag, and surely Pete will just let Guy go through. You see Guy just giving a little bit of a flash there. Pete running himself a little bit wide, coming down the hill in through turn that is 30s. But now all that's happening is that Pete is slowing him down, so Duppy is getting a lot of advantage here. Let's just jump to Orion in 5th place. Wasn't quite sure on how far he was away from the next driver, but that is quite a distance between himself and the 4th place. But just bearing in mind that he is the first of the drivers that have pitted, so that might just mix up some of the results later on in this race. So I'm starting to get the sense that Pete is starting to pull away from Guy. Pete is effectively in 9th place. You can see that Guy is flashing him, so he definitely wants Pete to get out of his way, because that gap between a Guy and Duppy now 4 seconds, so it does look like Pete is definitely slowing him down. So there Pete moves out of the way through Druids, and now allows Guy to go through. Let's jump to Stephen Koenig driving under my alias. So he is 24 seconds behind Ryan, but is effectively sitting in 6th place. You can see he has pitted, so he is ahead of Flip, Ronaldo, as well as Pete. The daunting green colors of the Green Mambas. And we always talk about the Mamba fever. It's a thing. The reason we do, because it is most definitely is a thing. So Guy now reducing that gap that was just over 4 seconds. He's found another 0.3 of a second between himself and the current race leader, Duppy. And Guy definitely starting to extend his gap over Pete. Paul, thank you very much. Yeah, I did eventually get it right. My brain just has to just click on who it is and where they're from, but thank you. Do appreciate it. So Dion, unfortunately I did not see Duppy's pole time, and that was because I was looking over Stephen's shoulder to just have a look, and unfortunately the time is just out of view, so I couldn't see exactly what was going on. do see lots of shaking of the head. So that was the green number off the track, and in the exact same place that I mentioned that I'd gone off in my race. So that means Flip is going to be able to really put a lot of pressure on the back of Stephen now. Stephen possibly running just a little bit of damage, and that's definitely going to hamper the handling of that car. So just looking at the weather forecast, it is clear skies here this evening. Well, say this evening. We're racing this evening, but for the afternoon where the guys are racing themselves. The track is optimum. We do have a 37 degrees track temperature. And I did find that the rears were getting just a little bit hot every now and again, so I would have to just come off the power a little bit as we see a Flip taking advantage of a little mistake that Stephen had made. So Sly Pete has not let Guy get away from him. And we know that Sly Pete is down in 9th place. So it all depends on where the likes of Brett and Stefan will end up once they complete their pits. Stefan currently in 3rd place. And he has quite a bit of a gap between 2nd and 4th. So if he hangs on to here, gets his pit strategy right, we actually might see him on the podium. So that is Brett now crossing the start, just about the start finish line. No, he has already. That's now going into turn number 1. So now he'll go through Drood, and this was where the Mamba Fever was affected, or I should say was implemented on Ashley, where we saw him go off down the Graham Hill bend. Looks like he touched the grass on the outside, possibly watching mirrors, and gave myself and Ashley gave myself and Marshall that place. But really good to see that Stephen is still fighting back very hard, not letting a Flip get away from him just yet. And it looks like Stephen has a run. Will he be able to get on the inside? No, he decides to go to the outside, the Foster line. But that is an absolute fantastic move to the inside. He'll now go hard on the brakes, just follow the curb on the inside, and he will then take that place back from Flip. So Flip now down into 7th place, and Stephen up into 6th. So I'm sure Bianca will be very happy having seen that move. So Bianca, if you are there, let us know. Yes, Dion, cannot agree with you more. This is now where Flip needs to get his head down as he runs just a little bit wide. Touch the curb on the outside, but I know that that Porsche is very, very forgiving on those curbs. It is when you touch the grass that is the problem. Like that, Stephen, that's not going to work. Ooh, big impact there for Stephen up against the wall. So that's going to release Flip back up into 6th place. And quite surprisingly, let me try that without the twisted tongue. Quite surprisingly, Ryan in 5th place, he has pitted. And I think you need about 20 seconds or so to do a quick stop and go. So he might just get himself up in that podium position and get himself ahead of Chicken Wing and Brett. So Duppy now deciding that now is the time to go into the pits, still with 26 minutes to go, which now releases, and man oh man, Pete is having an absolute cracker. You can hear Stephen in the background there realizing that he let Ronaldo go, but that was actually for a position. And now Steven's going to go and hunt him down. So currently our race leader, a guy, does he still have Pete behind him? Looks like Pete made a mistake because he's definitely fallen off the pace there. Cameraman Tim is confused, but he did manage to find a guy. Looks like there was a car that's just ahead of him that has taken a lot of the dirt with him, and I just can't see who it is. Oh, there we go. So coming to screen, it is the Green Mamba. They're currently being driven by Stephen Koenig. So Ryan is 10 seconds, who is in 5th place now, but he's effectively 10 seconds behind who we could call the race leader. There was about 5 seconds between Guy and Duppy, which means that a Guy will slot right in between Ryan, and then we know that a Chicken Wing, he had about 7 seconds between himself and Guy, which means that Ryan might just be able to get himself that one position higher and get himself on that podium. So the cameraman, the marshal, just flagging that there's a slow car. Could it be the battle here? No. Cameraman Tim, you're an absolute gem. So 11 seconds. I just saw 2 cars close together on the little map on the bottom right of the screen. But they do seem like they have opened up just a little bit. Or is that 80 or 66 is who I'm looking at? So there we go. So that is now Stefan going into the pits. So Duppy will now go past. So you can see 23 seconds. So as Orion comes through the last corner, Stefan is now on his way, and he's right here by the pit exit. It looks like he's made a mistake in the pit box, because that car hasn't been lifted yet. So there we go. That was I think what was needed. But now you can see that Stefan is way down in 5th place, and we've now got Flip Van Sale, who's coming around towards the last corner there. Stefan is now out, so he is now effectively down in 5th place, and Ryan up into 4th. It all depends now where Brett and Guy. Brett's at the bottom, Guy at the top. Starting to learn their names. So a very, very long stop there. And you can see for Stefan, it actually hasn't registered that he made a stop. So that pit has gone absolutely terribly for him. So down in a 9th place. So that is quite a disappointing result there for him. Was doing so well, was up into 3rd place, and a little mistake in the pits, and that is the end of his race. So that's Duppy just coming down the hill in the background. He is starting to close up on the back of Brett. So 3.2 seconds is the distance now between Duppy, who is effectively our race leader, because he does have enough time in the bag between himself, Guy, and Brett. And it looks like that Ryan is starting to just match the pace of Duppy, because that 11 seconds has been pretty consistent for the last couple of laps now. So Duppy exiting out of Sterling's. He'll now go through a Clearways, then through a Clark Curve, and it's actually so surprising of how much speed you are able to carry through there, as we see Brett braking just off to the left, the right hand side, now taking his pit stop. And Duppy now retakes that race lead, whereas Ryan he now comes around the last corner. You can see Brett now into the box. So he is definitely getting something done there. Don't know whether he's taking on fuel or tires, but is that going to allow Flip, who's now comes through Sterling, to close that gap up on him? Brett now starting to leave the pits, and a Flip now coming through the last corner as he just touches the curb on the outside. And Ronaldo, he's now moving himself closer to Flip, so that is gonna get interesting a little bit later on, as these two start getting into the final half of this race. This is where the fuel starts going down. This is where the car starts feeling a lot more like what you were practicing in. And I always talk about that the car comes to me, the first 15 minutes or so are really terrible, and then after that the car comes in, the setup feels good, the car feels balanced, and that's where I start getting in those really good lap times. So I was just having a look to see where Pete was, and he is down in 8th place, but he's having another battle here with Guy, and you can see Guy currently leading this race. He hasn't taken a pit yet, but if there wasn't the issue that Pete had experienced earlier on, he could have very well been right at the top here fighting for a podium. So this is a Lamborghini versus Porsche, and a Flip in the Porsche goes into the last corner out of a Clark Curve. Will that Lamborghini be able to use that slipstream advantage down the main straight? It is very difficult to overtake on this track, and you almost got to force that error or be very, very sneaky, get yourself on the inside, as there's a car on the outside of the track. That is a chicken wing, a Papa Whiskey, who is now up against the wall. I didn't think that he would be continuing, so that is the end of his race, as we now jump back to the battle for 5th and 6th place here. So a Guy into the pits. Where is Ryan? So Ryan gets himself up into 2nd place as a Guy now exits. Brett is still further down in the lap. He is now going through Sterling, so he won't be able to take advantage of that pit stop by Guy. So a Guy currently in 3rd place, Ryan in 2nd, and a Duppy in 1st position. But Ronaldo and Flip are having an almighty battle. Ronaldo still not able to find a way around the Porsche, and as I mentioned, it is extremely difficult to overtake her. Just looking at some of the lines that Flip is taking, if I was Ronaldo, I would take a much later entry into turn number 1, go with him through turn number 1, and then just get himself on the inside and force the Porsche to go a much wider line, stick it up on the inside, ride that inside curb. Then you will be too wide going down the hill towards the Graham Hill bend, and that is a perfect opportunity to get yourself on the inside for that next corner. Because now coming through the back here through Westfield, this whole Dingledale, this is all single file. There is no overtaking opportunity here, unless Ronaldo was trying to make me eat my words there. But we'll go through a sheen curve, and if say Flip can just keep it on the track, and that is the exact same place where Gerard lost it and myself lost it. So it looks like that is definitely a corner that the Porsche does not like, and that's now got Ronaldo up into 5th place. But that mistake is going to have a Flip right behind him once again. The other thing that's happened is now Sly Pete has been able to work his way through the pack, and now he is able to fight for position. So now into Drude's. Pete's a little bit wide, not able to get that power on as quickly as Steven does. Now they'll go up into, back up the little hill as they now approach into Surtees. Then up over the little hill, down into the Pilgrim's Drop, and a single file through here once again. So Pete is going to have to be very, very creative to try and find that overtaking opportunity. So it just looks like Steven's a little bit tentative, scared to use those curbs, as Pete has a little look to the inside. No overtaking opportunity there. Both drivers off the curb, staying away from that the grass on the outside. Is this the opportunity down into turn number 1? Peter's still not close enough. He's not able to put enough pressure to force the overtake into Drudes. Just wish I was able to just change the camera, get on board with Pete, and can then start being behind the driver in front of you. You can start just seeing where Steven could possibly be making just a few little errors, and those would be the ones that Pete would need to start just probing at. And it's just a little show every now and again as you approach the corner. Don't necessarily have a dive, but just move the car over to the inside. Just let the driver in front just know that you're just having a look, and then you start showing your intentions. So Dion saying that you're having withdrawal symptoms, I understand exactly what that feels like. So lap number 18. We still have just over 11 minutes to go. And Peter's really finding it difficult to get himself around the Porsche, as Stephen a little late on the throttle allowed Pete to get right up behind him. The Surtees is so tricky because you're braking and at the same time you're pointing the car in to the right hand side. But this is the opportunity that Pete needs. He needs to stay right here in the slipstream. Just wondering whether Pete is having a little bit of downforce issues. Not quite able to carry the speed through that section. See, for myself, I was right up on that inside curb, letting the car ride the curb. I think that was the opportunity that Pete needed. Stephen was a little bit slow on the exit. So will Pete now have a look to the outside? He now is trying the cut back, and Stephen just loses the real little tag of the back from Pete. And that is unfortunately all she wrote. Pete now able to move himself up into 7th place. And that will put Stephen down into 8th. So Ronaldo is starting to close up on the back of Brett. 2 seconds is the gap there. So these two are fighting for 4th and 5th place. You can see Ronaldo carrying a lot more speed through that section. And I think that's where he is able to go, unless there is some sort of problem that Brett has. Because it does just seem that Ronaldo's car is going way quicker. Even just the way Brett had approached that... That corner was a little bit wider. You can see Ronaldo is really having a look to the inside. So I think it's just a matter of time now. Brett very defensive up into Druids. So Ronaldo can just be patient. He needs to just find that right opportunity. Just looking at both those cars, the white Ferrari looks so much wider, but I think that's just because Ronaldo is behind him. But you can see Ronaldo is definitely going quicker. He's definitely looking to see where he's able to just put his nose in and make it very difficult. So Brett deciding to try and squeeze Ronaldo. Will Ronaldo go around the outside, little touch of that curb, and that just almost bounced him up into Brett himself while they were both on the brakes. Ronaldo going to try and have another look. Is there a cutback opportunity? So difficult to overtake. You can see, even though it looks like Ronaldo is the faster of the two, is just not able to get this car into a position. Brett is doing all the right things, getting that car into every wrong place for Ronaldo. You can see Brett just moving to the inside, holding that line, not giving Ronaldo any opportunity. So still 6.5 minutes to go. So that will leave us just about 4 laps. So Ronaldo must just be patient. He will find the kink in the armor. As he goes side by side, Ronaldo is able to have a little dive in through Sterling's. He will now be on the outside, and Brett is able to just sneak it through, but now there's a touch of the dirt, and I'm not sure how Ronaldo was able to avoid the contact. But it is extremely close between these two. 5.5 minutes left to go. Which of these two do you think is going to be able to get a look? Oh, little Brett tried to close the door, and I hope that was not Brett going into Ronaldo like that. That looked very suspect. Unless there was a little bit of lag perhaps going into that corner. So let's see. We are 5 minutes left. Very close out on the curb. A little slip of the rear there for Ronaldo. Has he been able to hold it? Yes, he has. The car did look like it was starting to rotate a little bit. So they're now side by side going into the last corner, and Ronaldo just not able to get this car ahead. So when I jump to our race leader, Duppy, he's had an absolutely incredible race in the black and gold. Or is it black and yellow? Black and gold, black and yellow. I suppose actually both great songs. Ronald. What the hell is going on with me? Ryan. Ryan in second place. He's had a great race with Guy in third. And then this battle is still continuing. The cameraman must be related to cameraman Tim, because he focused on that sign way too long. Ronaldo taking as much curbs as possible to try and find that way to get himself around Brett. So Ronaldo is only going to have 3 laps left to try and find a way. This is possibly the opportunity if Ronaldo can jump to the inside. They're going to be side by side into Druids. That was a little touch on the back of Brett there, but it looked like that he just tried to squeeze Ronaldo out, but it looked like Ronaldo had got into that position, and I just wish that we were able to just go back to a replay to physically review that, but that looked like Brett he's done for this evening. That's Ronaldo up into a 4th place. So 2 minutes left, and just having a look to see where Duppy is. So he is now coming through Surtees. So that will be this lap and 1 more left. So Sly Pete, as we jump to him, he goes straight on, going through Hawthorne. And he now rejoins the track in front of our race leader. So you can see Pete just getting out of the way once again. So Flip 18 seconds behind, so he won't be able to capitalize on that at all. And Steven down in the 7th position. Cameraman Tim very confused there. So that is that final conversation, that final confirmation. So an absolute great race here for Duppy, having needed to take a couple of weeks off due to procedure, and here he is back behind the wheel, first week back, and he is able to put that number 13 Porsche in the top spot here at Brands Hatch in the Bravo tier. So a great result here for Ryan as well. It looks like the Bentleys are designed for this track, because that is 3 podiums for Bentley this evening here at SARCO, and that is across both the Alpha and the Bravo tier. So the time is officially up, and then we have a guy in 3rd place. A great battle there for him, and we did have Sly Pete chasing him for a little bit. He was slowed down ever so slightly. And there we have it. That is confirmation. Duppy is the winner here, round number 5. So this is the second last race. Next week will be the final round for our ACC season. There's Ryan in a 2nd position. A great drive for him. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that result. So guy comes through a Clark curve. He'll across the line in 3rd place, so a podium there for him. Just managing to catch Ronaldo, finishing in 4th place as he just manages to catch it through the Porsche disaster corner. Pete looks very happy with his 5th place. In 6th is Flip. And then Steven will come home in 7th position. So guys, don't go away. We're going to get our top 3 into the commentary box, and we'll have a quick chat with him. Guys, we're just sending those invites out.
Thanks, man. And Ryan, you did it well. Second, eh? Were you a bit lonely in front there? Yeah, very. I kept on jittering in the beginning of the first few laps. Are you going to join the Discord chat? What did someone tell me to? Yeah, I'll see you in the top 3 when I join.
How's it going?
Guy, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright, bud. How are you doing?
Yeah, really, really great. I just hear in the background we've got Duppy and Ryan just having a chat to say, are you joining the Discord? So Ryan, I hope you were able to convince him accordingly. Let's just get...
Yeah, I told Duppy he must join us.
100%. So, Guy, let's start off with you. A very interesting pit strategy there for you. We were watching your time quite closely just to see where you would have come up, because the guys up in front hadn't pitted, had pitted already, but you kept going and landed up getting yourself in third place after the pits.
Yeah, so I, wasn't quite sure how the pit strategy was going to go, and my tires were falling off fast. I was like, I need to take a break, let them cool down just a little bit. So I ended up going a little earlier than I, planned to, and I was running a little heavy on fuel. But, not my best race, not my worst either. But, I'm happy with that, came away third. I think also the first or the third or fourth or whatever it was that Sly Pete came out in front of me, definitely I locked up a couple times behind him trying to avoid him, not sure what he was going to do. He was let me by or keep racing. So that definitely caused some excess tire wear that I wasn't planning on. But, end of the day, it's racing.
No, 100%. And what we did see is that once he got behind you, you kind of towed him along there for a little bit. So if he wasn't out of position, it might have just added another dimension to that actual race. So I'd say a great effort when he got behind you to keep chasing you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a quick guy, but at the same time, my tires, I was like, okay, now I've got to go easy on him now that I've gotten past him because they're overheating, and I definitely splat spotted one or two of them.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was just trying to, get the tires back under control before I started trying to pull away again. Because I was like, once he's behind me, hopefully he's not going to try anything. He'll see, that I'm in the in the lead pack, but
Yep, most definitely.
Can't always plan for everything.
Great result there for you. And then Ryan, it looks like your pit strategy. You commented on my pit strategy. It looks like yours worked out pretty okay as well. And pitted nice and early and slotted yourself right up there in second place.
Yeah, well, I didn't have the greatest qualifying, and going through paddock on the first corner, just trying to stay alive there, and Brett got his elbows out, so I just thought I'll just put in some fast laps behind everyone, and it paid off in the end.
No,
it was a lonely race, but got the result.
Well, let's either have a lonely race or a heartbeat race and get the result. I'd rather have a nice casual one to the end.
Yeah, it was like great. I enjoyed your race as well. You also pushed hard that whole race.
Thank you very much. Taking you to the end. Green Mamba fever, it's a thing. and then let's go to you, Duppy. Your first drive back after a couple of weeks. It's really good to have you back. And Dar Fate, you stick it right on the top of the podium.
Yep. I really enjoyed the race. This is one of my favorite tracks. I know you hate it.
I hate this track, Duppy, and you know that.
I love the track, and I was a bit jittery in the beginning. I didn't have a lot of traction, but okay, it took about 3 laps for my tires to get up to speed. After that, I just loved it. It felt like I was driving faultless.
No, look, every time we jumped on you, it definitely looked like that.
Minus that first lap, you scared me there a little bit.
That first lap
was a good ride. You had it all together after that.
My first lap was a balls up, but as I said, I didn't have any traction. Not like when I was practicing though.
I don't know what I'm right there with you. After about lap 5, my tires started falling off. I'm like, come on, already?
Yeah, completely feel you. So, Guy, I just want to apologize. Is that earlier on in the stream, I kept getting yourself and Brett mixed up. Apologies. But,
I heard that from Rainmeister and Jacques.
Yeah.
I had a little laugh at that.
They did correct me profusely. And I did correct myself, and then I got it right towards the end of the race. So apologies.
You're all good.
Right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you to all the guys that came and joined us on the stream who are watching both the Alpha and the Bravo tier. To the Bravo tier, your podium winners, well done, guys. Thank you very much. Can't wait to see you next week as we round off the championship. To Stephen Koenig, thank you so much for jumping in the commentary box for the Alpha tier so I'm able to race. Thank you very much, Stephen. And to our sponsor, CT Auto, thank you very much for your contribution. Guys, the details for CT Auto Electrical are in the description. Go check them out. If you have any need for any racing electronics or racing wiring, they're the guys to talk to. Guys, all I can say, it was an absolute fantastic evening, really great racing, lots of fun to both watch and commentate. Guys, we'll see you next week, and all I can say is keep practicing, and thanks for watching.
All right, see you next week. Peace.
Yep.